Hello, everybody. This is Zeki Hamid. I'm the Director of Community Engagement at KUOW, and welcome to the 7th episode of Are We Going to Be Okay? Now, it's been 57 days since the stay-at-home order, and get this, 71 days since schools closed, which means that we've all been cooking 3 extremely mediocre meals a day and calling it great for a very long time. So this is our weekly series of virtual conversations with community members from different corners of our region to talk about how we're all handling this new and hopefully temporary reality. I've been saying this for 7 weeks. I don't know how temporary it is. So this week's theme is all about the restaurant industry, and we want you to be part of this conversation. So please send us your comments and questions on whichever platform you're watching this on. All you got to do is just go to the comment section right below and send us your questions. Or if you want to do text, you can text the word food to 206-926-9955. That's text the word food to 206-926-9955. And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce my co-host for the series, Special Projects Editor and co-host of Battle Tactics for Your Sexist Workplace podcast from KUOW, Jeannie Endel. Hi, Jeannie.
Hi, Zaki. I have to tell you, a friend of mine described cooking during this time as 3 square meals 3 times a day if you're cooking and you have kids. So I feel like I've been doing more than 3 meals for a while.
Yeah,
I know we're going to get into that, but right? I feel like 3 is a minimum if you have children.
I'm hungry.
Second lunch happens right after this show for my kid, by the way.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
My kid had ice cream for lunch, so.
Yes.
So I would like to introduce you all to our guest. Chef Edouardo Jordan is the winner of the 2018 James Beard Award for Best Chef Northwest and Best New Restaurant for June Baby Restaurant. In addition to June Baby, he's also the owner of 2 other restaurants in Seattle, Solari and Lucinda Grain Bar. Since March, Chef Jordan has transformed Solari into a community kitchen that is part of the Restaurant Workers Relief Program. So far, Solari has served hundreds of free-to-go meals to restaurant workers who have been laid off or who have experienced a significant reduction in hours due to COVID-19. We are so happy that you are here with us. Welcome to Are We Going to Be Okay, Eduardo?
Hi, Chef. So I'm going to quote you back to you here for a second.
Oh boy.
So yeah, right. So you have said before that you are a big name, but a small business.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, I just think about my businesses. I have 3 businesses. In those 3 businesses, I have a total of 43 employees. So I still think I'm very small. I know a lot of businesses that just, they have, over 50 in their one establishment, and we're just talking about the restaurant industry. So, yeah, I have a name for myself. I made a name for myself. I've done well in the celebrity sense, but I'm still a small business. I still turn the lights on myself. I still get under the sink and fix the plumbing. I'm still the guidance counselor for my employees. I'm still, managing the books and watching the taxes and working with my bookkeeper. So I'm still extremely hands-on, and I'm still small enough that I feel the small business pain and struggle every day. So yeah, don't be fooled by the celebrity and quote unquote status.
You're still doing all the things.
Oh yeah.
I wanted to ask a little bit about the Solari Community Kitchen. What's a typical day like there? Who's coming in?
Yeah, so we have a non-contact program that we run. It initially started when Chef Edward Lee. Hey,
that would be my
cat. Some stories as well.
That is upset about something. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, it's your cat. Okay, I was wondering whose cat it was. Sorry.
It's lunchtime for the cat. But yeah, the Workers Relief Program started when Chef Edward Lee out of Kentucky reached out to me. It was pretty much like March 17th, the day after Governor Inslee announced the shutdown, lockdown, stay at home, whatever we want to call it now. And I was right at the point of like kind of brainstorming of what we're gonna do next. So like, what impact can we have? from a business standpoint of like, how do we survive, to actually helping the community. And it was perfect timing on him to reach out to me. And they were basically creating a program that they were trying to help restaurant workers, because there's so many restaurant workers and across the country. It's like 11 to 15 million workers in the hospitality industry. And I think we have a total in King County, like 100,000 workers in, no, not 100,000. I'm messing the numbers up a little bit, so don't quote me. But I mean, you know, the impact that we were going to experience of all the hospitality workers, like where were they going to see their next meal? We've been feeding so many people, so many meals over our you know, lifespan of doing business. Now it was time for us to feed our staffs, our community that has been so helpful to so many other people. You know, we're essentially guidance counselors and mentors and you know, the ear to so many guests coming into our restaurants, because we're always, you know, there to be a soundboard for them. So, you know, I just wanted to give back, you know, to the workers. With that said, like it also morphed into more. We turned the kitchen into a community kitchen of sorts too, where we started reaching out and helping other organizations like Solid Ground, Bird Bar Place, Northwest Harvest, and now we're partnering with Fair Start and World Kitchen to continue getting meals out to families and people with food insecurities. We had food securities before this crisis, and now it's, you know, doubled up even more, where food banks are struggling to keep up. You know, there's so much food and waste happening because farmers can't even get their product out. So we're doing our part to continue feeding our community, and the best way we know how that's to make food and get it out there. So.
Hey, Zeki, before you ask a question, I'm so sorry. I have to give a little peek behind the curtain here. So this is for everybody who's watching. I forgot to do this at the beginning. If you notice Zeki or I kind of looking down at our phones, we're not like making a grocery list or, you know, like online shopping or anything. That's how our producer Kristen lets us know what questions, comments, stories are coming in. So we're looking at our phones so we can then incorporate those questions and comments and all of that. And you can, you know, as Zeki said, I think drop those comments in below in the comment section, or you can tweet us at KUOW Engage, or you can use the phone number that Zeki mentioned earlier, 206-926-9955.
Yeah,
I am done. Please continue. Oh, look, there's the phone number. Yeah.
So we just to kind of follow up on what you were saying, Chef, about the just community organizing. Like, this is nothing new to you, right? So you've done this in the past. I'd love for you to just talk to us a little bit more about the work that you did in community organizing before you were a chef.
Yeah. Well, my community relations and you know, giving has, you know, I think that's been with me since I was probably 12 years old in organized organizations, where I worked with the Urban League when I was a youth, you know, just learning about community service. It was a program called The New Lights. And it was just kind of like mentoring young people of color in St. Petersburg, Florida, you know, to be able to, I don't know, just like network and just be a part of the community. And so that was kind of like the birth of me, like, you know, becoming this leader in a sorts, that followed me in middle school, that followed me in high school, when, you know, where I was like leaders of various organizations, all the way to college, with my fraternity, with other organizations like the Black Student Union, where I was vice president. So always involved, always trying to give back, always trying to be a leader in some sense. And so, you know, when I opened up my restaurant, nothing has changed. That same thought process and philosophy kind of follows with me, giving back, because so many people give to me. They have come in my restaurant and supported me. The best that I can do is always support. It's kind of funny that all of this kind of happened and I'm more in the spotlight now for the community giving, but, you know, it's always something I've been doing. But something that I also was working on over the last years to be more direct. You know, running 2 and then 3 restaurants. It's a hard task. Like, I'm always busy. I don't have time. And I was starting to question like my giving. A lot of my giving over the last like 2 years have been pretty indirect, in the sense that I'm helping other organizations raise money. I'm doing cooking demos. I'm doing demonstrations. I'm actually cooking at events, and it just didn't feel so direct. And so We started the Soul of Seattle this year in February, where we brought in 9 chefs in the city. We brought in the community. We raised money for Rainier Scholars and the Urban League here in Seattle. And that was just me being more direct and like actually like touching things. And now I guess like that's following me again because I don't know how much more direct we need to be, but like we are pretty direct right now in our giving. So it feels good.
I bet it does. And it's interesting because you can do that something for so long and it's not really noticed. And then all of a sudden something happens which really brings it in spotlight, like you said. There is a question that we got here kind of related to this from Sarah from YouTube. She says, is the Lee Initiative still the best channel to donate to help the work of the kitchen at Solari?
So we just pivoted from the Lee Initiative. And so I'll just give a quick background on the Lee Initiative now. What they're working on now, the first stage was helping restaurants stay afloat, give to the community, support the restaurant industry and the workers. And now they're pivoting to help the farmers by purchasing and giving donations to the farmers so that the food can get to the restaurants now that we're all kind of moving into phase 2 around the country. And there's like 13 of us that participated in the Lee Initiative. And so they're working directly with our farmers to spend like $2,000 or $3,000, weekly to bring in those carrots, those potatoes, those cauliflowers, all of those products that we may not been able to purchase this because we don't have that working capital because we weren't open. So that is one way to continue supporting us and other restaurants around the country and the Lee Initiative. But we're also taking donations directly. What we're going to do, and this is just because of me and my staff, we're not going to open for phase 2. We're going to stay closed. We're going to still be working with Solid Ground, Bird Bar Place, Fair Start, and World Kitchen. So we're accepting donations personally. If you wanted to drop off money at the restaurant or send in a check, you can send it directly to Solari's address and say this is for donation for the community kitchen. And I think we will continue doing that until July or so, until like I feel comfortable we have a better understanding of the virus and the pandemic, and that we can build a plan of action that actually makes sense for us. And I just want to be able to be in a position that I'm not having to be forced to be open. So that's like me negotiating, working with my landlord and trying to figure out my expenses right now. Because the reality is we are a business. I do have a lease. We have to make sense of this in the long run too. So
yeah, I really appreciate that you're thinking about when it's the right time to open, given that there's so much that we still don't know about this virus and sort of how it spreads and how long it's contagious, all of that. I do wonder though, I mean, whether this pandemic has caused you to, I guess, change the way you think of yourself. Are you still thinking of yourself as like a chef and business owner first, or are you more of a community organizer now? In your ample free time when you're thinking about how you identify yourself. We've all had time for reflection. Sure, yeah.
No, I don't think like one has a priority. When I start listing the number of hats that I wear, I think it changes hour by hour, day by day. Having this conversation right now makes me feel like, I'm that community activist, I'm that community leader. But just an hour and a half ago, I was breaking down salmon at Solari restaurant. And I was chef and, I was giving guidance. And probably about 45 minutes from now or more, I'm going to be answering a call about some other thing going on. So nothing really has a priority. I think everything that you named is kind of like who I am. And that just, that's the makeup of who I am and what I do. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a really good friend who once said that the best way she can think about her life is to just focus on what she has to do in the next 20 minutes.
That's reality right now.
Yeah, I was like that. Yep, that works. And you mentioned that you're not going to reopen in phase 2, but I wonder if what kind of thought you've given to what your restaurants being open will look like, in post-pandemic life, or I don't know, in phase 19, wherever we are.
Yeah. So in 2021, when we finally opened up, Uh, yeah, I don't know. It's scary. What we know of as restaurants before will not be the case. That probably will not be the case until we actually have a vaccine. Everyone's tested. There's a certain level of comfort that we actually have again. Until that happened, probably 2021 or
Yep.
longer. The way we run business, the way I run my business is going to be totally different. I never focused on takeout before. There'll probably be a focus on takeout. I'm working hard to make sure my product still can get out there, and that means going into grocery stores. This also gives me the opportunity to be creative as heck with some of the projects that I had spinning in my head to actually bring them to reality now. So like we're just releasing our pimento cheese into Whole Foods, and that happens tomorrow.
Wow.
So
Congratulations.
pretty exciting. That's 2 years in the making, but like the pandemic actually put pressure on me to make sure that I get this done. We're working with other local grocers to get our product in the store so that you can experience Solari and June Baby and Lucinda right from the grocer. We're just trying to be smart about the business. I think now it's all about surviving. It'll be great to make a profit, but it's all about surviving and getting to stage 19, if that is what it is, when we're able to be normal again. But it's just trying to figure out how to make it there. Some of that means consolidating down. Some of that means being creative and innovative. Some of that means making changes. Some of that means like asking our guests to understand and accommodate, and also, be lenient and I don't know, just be mindful of the fact that things aren't going to be the same, and bear with us, like, as we navigate all of this.
Yeah.
So before I get to my next question, actually, somebody sent in a really fun question here. So this is Joseph, also from YouTube, who says, what would you say if you had to deliver the State of Soul Food address in Seattle?
The State of Soul Food.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
No pressure.
Really beloved, we are gathered here today. The State of Soul Food. I don't know. Soul food means so many things to me, and every culture has their own soul food. So I am not the representative to speak proudly and boastfully and be the one keynote speaker for soul food, because everyone has their own soul food, and we should all speak proudly and loudly about it. So I don't know if that answers your question, but
we're going to have to go with that one. But
yeah,
it's a very generous answer. I got to tell you that.
Yeah, it was an honor just being nominated to give the speech. That's what I heard.
Well, thank you.
Our food reporter Ruby DeLuna did a story in which she mentioned that according to a recent survey from the James Beard Foundation, 4 out of 5 independent restaurants don't think that they will survive this financial crisis. So I'm really curious, what are you hearing from other chefs and restaurant owners in Seattle right now?
I would say it's probably 4.7.
Wow.
It's scary. I just had the opportunity to sit down with another restaurant owner here and have a glass of wine or whatever we had and eat a burger and just chat. And the reality is that he's closing one of his restaurants, so he has 2 and he's down to 1 now. My next door neighbor restaurant, that one closed like day 1 of the shutdown. There's going to be a lot of changes, a lot of closure. It's about surviving, and we are in an industry that was very fragile before. Imagine what we're facing right now. We depend on guests coming into our restaurant. We depend on packing the house out with guests and turning tables, and to think that we can survive on a 50% occupancy and capacity at this point in time, with actually not knowing when that will increase. It's scary, and we're still paying our leases. We're still paying business insurance. I'm still paying health insurance. There's set costs that aren't going to go down to 50% because of we can bring in 50% now.
I wonder, I feel like I have seen a lot about that idea of setting up dining rooms for 50% occupancy. And it's clear why that's the messaging we're getting, right? Because it's about people who want to go to restaurants. But, I wonder how you set up a kitchen to be able to have safe distancing, right? Kitchens, I
Kitchen
mean,
are tiny.
you know, yeah, they're not set up for that. I wonder,
Mhm.
how are you thinking about that?
I mean, some kitchens are lucky that they do have the space. I can't say that I have the space, but I never had a large kitchen staff, so we are able to social distance in the kitchen, and that's why we're able to do the community kitchen, and we're doing takeout at June Baby. And Lucinda's closed, so that's a small kitchen. Oh, actually, it's a pretty big kitchen, but like the area where we do our savory is pretty small, so we didn't have to think about that, but. Yeah, it's going to be tough for a lot of restaurants to navigate how to set up a kitchen staff to cook for 50%, even navigating what 50%, producing 50% of the amount of food. You know, how does that work? Because it might take the same amount of time to prep that food as it would take to prep for, you know, double that number.
Right. Yeah.
And then, you know, as business owners, we're going to have to be creative. You know, we're going to largely depend on takeout. We're going to largely depend on people coming and wanting to dine in. And we're going to need everyone's support to support us like we're actually open, and treat takeout as if you wanted to dine out that night, and help support these restaurants, especially if you want to see your neighborhood restaurant survive.
Right.
Yeah. We were talking earlier before the show started about how you just sort of learned about Zoom meetings within the last, month or so, because the service industry is not really an industry that can work remotely using lots of Zoom meetings, right? It's just not a thing.
You know, people in the kitchen, we actually started working in the kitchen because we didn't like talking to people or being in front of people. I know that was initially the case for me when I got in the kitchen. I was like, I don't mind like the closed wall and in the back and prepping and cooking. And, you know, now we have open kitchens, so I guess we have to talk. We have to smile. But yeah, like this Zoom stuff is totally new to me, and it was it sounds crazy that I'm saying that now because I do pretty much a Zoom call once and twice a week now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Do you think that there are any innovation? I'm not saying that I don't even know what like restaurants via Zoom would look like, but do you think that there are any innovations that might come out of this time that would work for restaurants moving forward?
Yeah, you know, I've heard of some like cool party meetings where like companies will have their like board meetings, and they will order takeout from a particular restaurant. Everyone gets that takeout, so they're all kind of like saying, "Hey, look, this is what we have. We have the chicken sandwich. We have this and have that." And so, yeah, I think that's one way to support. Like when you guys and anyone out there who's listening, next time you know think about having a meeting, and normally it's a lunch meeting, treat it as if you were having a lunch meeting to support the restaurants, and spend a few dollars, getting lunch.
That's a great idea. I really dig that. Yeah, exactly. Everybody can get different takeouts to their homes, and just got to treat it that way. Before Ginny, you move on to your, there's a couple of questions that came through. Somebody texted these questions, and one of them is, I think, correcting how I pronounce your restaurant's name. So, so is it Solari? Am I doing it right?
So if you were in Italy, Solari.
Solari. Okay. All right.
And so I actually, the name came to me when I was in Italy. I went to Colorno, and right outside of Parma, to work with some butchers and a family of salumists. And the butcher, he kept saying Solari, Solari, Solari. But Solari means to salt or to cure. So I was learning cured meat. So it's like more salt, more salt, more salt, and rub it. And just like it just stuck in my head. I was like, that's the name of my restaurant.
Got it.
Whenever I open up a restaurant.
So when it does open up again.
What was that?
And so the follow-up to that was, when it does open up again, or how do you envision the way it looks? Like what is it going to look like when that restaurant opens again? Because somebody texted says that's their favorite restaurant and they can't wait to go back. So do you have any ideas yet? I know you've said that it's going to take a little while.
I have tons of ideas. None of them are really sticking to the wall because we get a new change of what we need to do every day. and that's kind of like why I'm waiting for beyond phase 2, so that I can have a better understanding of all the changes that are going to happen. Because you got to understand, like reopening our restaurant, we need to have sanitizer stations where guests can come in. We potentially are wearing gloves. We're potentially having masks on. There might be needed special soaps, social distancing between the tables, all of these new parameters. And like, I don't know if you guys have any luck, but it's pretty hard finding sanitizer anywhere these days.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
My reorder of soap that I actually get on Amazon has stopped because of it's out of stock. So I have no clue when my soap is actually going to come in. So there's a lot of things that I'm navigating through. But yeah, we will have the opportunity for guests to walk in and have their sanitizer, so they can start with that kind of sense of comfort. There potentially will be a digital menu where we won't even hand the menus out. We potentially like use a code. You take a picture of the code, the menu pops up on your phone. We're working on other systems of contactless payment, where you just pay on your phone before you leave out. So we're strategizing, all the new things that will come into play possibly. But I'm still trying to figure it all out. This is new for us, and we're also being forced essentially into something new. And you got to understand, like, the restaurant industry didn't cause this virus, but we're the ones that are impacted the most, it seems. At least in my sense, it feels like the most. I think all small businesses are, but like, there's so many changes that we actually have to make because we interact with so many people on a daily basis. And I don't know how everyone's able to get up to speed or will be able to get up to speed unless like there's true government support saying, here's your bottle of sanitizer that we're dropping off to every restaurant, because everyone's going to struggle trying to get, soap, sanitizer, masks, gloves. Frontline workers are still struggling with getting masks and things of that nature. So
I hadn't thought about that, but that's a really good point. I mean, we've seen, the healthcare industry just sort of, run directly at the marketplace trying to get personal protective equipment, and that has not worked.
Yeah, totally.
Right. So then how would it magically work for the restaurant industry?
The hundreds of thousands of restaurants that are going to open up that employ 11 million people. So you're talking about, 8 to the 15 million people needing personal protection gear, or at least from the service staff that are going to need, a whole nother slew of things. So, everything's up in the air. It's like, I can't put my finger on it. When we ask our government officials, they can't put their finger on it. So it's just like, I don't know. Like, am I the one that's supposed to fix the industry now? I sadly, I can't be the example for everyone, and I can't make the mistake of opening and then being forced to close again, because that will be the end of Edouardo Jordan's restaurants then, because I don't have the good fortune to do this 3 or 4 times over.
Yeah.
So
that makes me wonder, Eduardo. I mean, you're talking about sort of trying to figure out whether you're responsible for sanitizer and personal protective equipment, but I'm also thinking about, the staff and, who you're responsible for, who work for you, all of that other stuff. I mean, this is probably an understatement, but you have a lot on your shoulders right now that you're responsible for.
We've always had a lot. And
right.
Restaurant owners, like, I say it's one of the most stressful jobs you can ever have, and be restaurant owner and chef, like, you're just doubling the headache and the heartache. And yeah, it's a lot. Like, every day I'm penciling out what's supposed to be done, and then I'm reading in the newspaper like, oh man, I need this too, I need to do this. And the good thing is that, like, the restaurant community has really come together. I depend on a lot of people for knowledge and resources, advice, figuring out what other states are doing who are already open, analyzing, like, how what works for them and what's not working, and following the trends on any spikes or anything of that nature. And then that kind of, sadly, Georgia, Florida, and Texas are going to be the experimental states that let me understand what's going on, and many other.
Yeah, I mean, I almost feel bad asking this question, but what are you worried about?
I'm 100% worried about putting my staff in jeopardy, in danger. I'm worried about being a hot hub for the coronavirus, an outbreak happening in my restaurant, or just like having to inform, thousands of guests that come in over the next month, like you potentially were exposed due to, eating at Solari. Like that's the death of Solari. And, I go back to something that I'm fighting right now. It's just like our insurance companies left us out in the dry, in the dark. Like they're not even here to help. Like they're saying we can reopen. One, we had business interruption that happened, and we're not even being protected by the insurance company. And now that we are quote unquote able to open, like what reinsurance do we have that if we reopen, that like if something happens that we're going to be okay because our insurance company has our back? Like I don't have any kind of comfort from anything right now.
Yeah, that's something that's kind of been on my mind a lot, which is the idea that right now it seems in certain, maybe I don't want to exaggerate and say everywhere, but in certain places, it really does seem that it's every person for themselves. And that makes me incredibly uncomfortable with the culture and the society. And it really makes me question a lot of things, everything from do I want to be here to what can I do? But talking about the pressures that you have had, and that's obviously that's a lot. And I just want to mention that next week we're actually going to be talking about mental health with author Ellen Forney. So I'm kind of wondering about like what do you do for your own mental health?
Well, I put the whiskey down. Yeah, I don't know. Mental health, I think, one of the first things that I started doing is exercising a little bit more. I felt the stress of 2020 in January. So, one thing that I stopped doing was drinking. And I spent the whole month of January as a dry January, just like, it's hard in this industry, and not that I'm an alcoholic or anything. No one starts sending me text messages. It's in this industry, we always have to taste. We always have a glass of wine and some kind of wine. So, don't send that letter to me. But one thing that I started doing was exercising more, taking walks. Just kind of also like shutting the phone off and technology here and there, because like I always have my phone on my hip. My staff know that like I answer every call within like 10 seconds and every text message within 2 minutes. But they also allow me to have like boundaries now, in a sense. Like, all right, Monday and Tuesday is going to be a quiet time for me. I'm going to be with my son, and I also like thank my son a lot too, because like he clears my mind that like I got to be teacher now. I'm actually like in class with him. I'm showing him, how to make the letter S better. And like, it gets me away from like all the craziness of being a business owner.
Right. And not write it backwards either, right? Because there's a lot of no, you wrote it backwards.
Wait, that's the wrong way. Oh, never mind. It's okay.
It's fine.
Yeah.
You have to pick your battles with the schooling stuff.
Exactly.
You do. I've been resorting to a lot of comfort food. That's the thing like that I kind of indulge in. And if anybody out there who's watching right now, if you want to send us what comfort foods that you are indulging in, just go ahead and put it in the comments right below. For me, it's about veggie burgers, like just some with a lot of mustard and cheese and so I mean, do you have anything like that, Chef?
Well, my comfort is also a burger, but it doesn't start with a veggie. So I love a good beef burger. Seriously, like that is one of my go-tos, is the burger. And I would literally like I guess when you say going even back to like mental health, is like actually just sitting on my patio and grilling a burger, and just hanging out, lighting a fire in the backyard and just like acting like I'm having my own little bonfire. And that's been like so good. It's just like soothing, just like watching the fire, watching the wood crackle, or hearing the wood crackle. It's just, I don't know, soothing.
Yeah.
So comforting.
That's a really good point. It's not just about the food, it's also like how we cook it.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, I hadn't thought about that. We're talking with Chef Edouardo Jordan. He owns 3 restaurants in Seattle. We're talking about comfort food. We're talking about the future of the restaurant industry. And if you have any questions or comments, you can drop them in the comments below. You can tweet us at KUOW Engage. You can also text food to 206-926-9955, and we'll do our best to incorporate your questions, your comments about comfort food, any of that. I do want to talk a little bit more about the future. I mean, do you have any thoughts on how this pandemic might change the way we go out to eat, aside from the fact that there will be a lot fewer of us sitting in dining rooms, you know, for the near future anyway?
We have to talk to the next guest via cell phone, and literally like 9 feet away from us. Like, that's the future. I don't know. I don't have that crystal ball. Like, dear restaurant industry. And actually, if we had that crystal ball, it might be pretty scary to know like what it's gonna be, because it's gonna take us about 2 to 3 years to get back to a real norm. And again, that's that vaccine happening. But you know, I think I don't know. There's going to be a lot of changes in the industry, even once we get back to the norm. Restaurants may not be so heavy full service. Might be less front of the house staff. The way we run business is definitely going to have to get restructured, because we can't function on that fragile structure that we had in the past. As a restaurant industry, we're going to have some security and cushion. And so we're gonna have to rethink the way that we run business, and it's gonna have to be truly business minded now.
Yeah.
And the guests are gonna have to understand that and feel that. Like, I think about some of the things that we used to do in my restaurants, where, you know, I'll give that free sorbet away, that free dessert. I'll give that thank you glass of wine. All of those are wise business decisions to get the guests back, but that also costs. Those are fragile ends that, you know, they come out of somewhere. But you know, all of that's going to have to get rethought. And like, I hope that we don't lose our service and hospitality feel and know that we're so famous for. But there's going to be a lot of rethinking about like how we run our business in general.
Yeah. What about the kind of food that we eat? I mean, I respect to your Chitlin sweatshirt, but you know, one of the things that's happened, you know, in the course of this pandemic is we've seen meat processing plants be hotspots for COVID-19 outbreaks, you know, because of the conditions that the workers are in, because, you know, the owners of these big meat processing companies are not taking time off or allowing people to take time off really in a safe way. Do you think that we're going to pivot away from meat?
I don't think we're going to pivot away from meat. I think it's not going to be pivoting because of our choice. It's going to pivot because of the supply demand. But yeah, we're going to be 100%. We're going to be more vegetable based, because that's what we're going to have access to. You know, but that's still in question too. Like, can we get our farm hands and workers back into the fields to actually pull the produce out of the ground, to actually water the produce? You know, all of these things are it's this trickle down effect. Like, the restaurant industry, you know, is like this big umbrella to so many different industries that, like, these farmers are depending on us to purchase product. Like, you think about the potato farmers in Washington State that's sitting on tons and tons of potatoes because of all these restaurants aren't open. So they got product wasting. Now, you know, who's going to get rid of that product? Like, who's going to plant the next potatoes for next year? So we're all going to feel the cycle of this pandemic, and that means the produce farmers to the meat farmers to the meat plants, et cetera. We're all going to be affected. Will we slide in one direction? I don't know. I don't think so. You know, I think we're going to be creative where you will have chitlins more. You will have like total utilizations of animals, because what happened to all those chicken feets? You know, what happened, you know, to, you know, all those offcuts that, you know, went elsewhere. We're going to have to figure out how to utilize it, like we did long time ago.
Yeah. So we're going to be transitioning to this really fun part here. It's kind of like a quiz soon. But before we kind of go there, I do want to ask you this question that's been on the mind of a lot of folks here. certainly on mine, because I like to order food. We do that actually twice a week. This is just kind of our thing, just to do to keep us sane and not have to cook all the time. But what do you think is the best way for people to support local restaurants right now? Because we're hearing a lot of debate about the use of third-party delivery services. So what do you recommend?
I mean, the best way is to kind of treat it as if nothing has changed and continue eating their product in whatever means possible. If that's through third-party delivery service, if that means no contact pickups, if that means investing into your local restaurants for future use, meaning gift cards and things of that nature, and then do that. Support the merchandise. If you see products in the store by your local restaurateur or owner, like support that too. I think that's about all we can do right now. Besides like potentially save up and in the hopes of using that money to get into the places later. But we need that support now. So.
Right.
All right, Chef, we are going to get into the next section here. It's a quiz.
Oh boy.
I know.
Study.
I'm excited about this quiz because I'm on the question asker side. I'm not being asked. So that's why I'm so excited about this quiz.
I can't turn it back to you.
Pass, you have to answer it.
Yeah. What is the Third Amendment? No.
I know, wait a second. Yeah. But before we get into that, I just want to remind everybody that we're talking with Chef Edouardo Jordan. He owns 3 different restaurants here in Seattle. And if you have any questions or comments that you would like to throw into the mix here, please do. You can do that by tweeting us at KUOW Engage. You can drop your questions and comments below in the comment section, wherever you're watching this. You can also text food to 206-926-9955.
And we do have some questions that we will ask after this quiz. So
yes, we've got a couple of really good questions that I'm excited about. Okay, but first and foremost, I mean, you shouldn't be too nervous about this quiz because it is based on your June Baby Encyclopedia. The word quiz, probably a little, triggering, I guess, but like it's based on your June Baby Encyclopedia, so it shouldn't be that bad. I spent like 3 hours, by the way, reading the June Baby Encyclopedia yesterday. It covers, geography, food history, race. It's like, it covers a lot of different things. Why did you want to create is that your dog?
Yeah, someone's at my door.
I love it. Oh my God.
I thought your dog was just reacting to my cat. So.
Relax, go get him.
Go get him. So why did you want to create something like a June Baby Encyclopedia, this online resource, which, by the way, is linked in the comments below for anybody who wants to check it out?
So,
yeah.
I try to do the quick version. So when I was opening up June Baby in the process, I was trying to figure out what restaurant it was going to be, what I was going to do. I wanted to create something that was dear to me. And it struck me that I need to do the foods of my roots, my history, my family, etc. I ended up taking this big road trip down to the South to kind of get reacquainted again. Went to like Memphis, Nashville, Charleston, Brownsville, just like all these city stops. There's probably like 28 restaurants that we went to, 2 museums, 3 plantations.
Wow.
And while on this journey, I was taking notes and I was like, oh, I'm going to blog about this. And I realized that like some of the things that I was writing as I was starting to like create this blog, I'm like, a lot of people may not be familiar with what I'm talking about, especially in Seattle. Seattle's not the South. We have people migrated up here, but like for the most part, like, what Southerner truly knows about okra or like, molasses. And it's just a question. But what I didn't want to happen was people coming into the restaurant and having 1,000 questions. So this gave them an outlet and an opportunity to know more about the restaurant and have appreciation about the food that they were about to receive before they got to the restaurant. So
got it. So we're going to go ahead and give you a few of these terms. Just tell us kind of like a little bit about it, but this is going to be kind of rapid fire. We want to move through them pretty quickly so we can get to some of these questions. So I'm going to start with this one, okay? Paprika. I want to know what it is. Can I substitute it for either smoked paprika or hot paprika?
Paprika is a pepper. It's typically a sweet pepper. It's normally dried, dehydrated, and pulverized. And Can it be switched? Yes, I like pimenton, which is the Spanish pepper. It's actually a Spanish pepper, but it's smoked. And we add that to like a lot of our ingredients to bring in a little touch of smoky tone. And then the question about the spicy, heck yeah, like switch it up anytime you want to.
Nice.
I love that. Okay, the next item on the quiz, trotter. What is a trotter and how can home cooks use it?
Great. A trotter is a pig's foot. So more commonly known as the pig foot, properly said as trotter. Home cooks, man, you really have to be into pig to actually want to do it. But it was one of those things that I grew up with. We loved it. We pickled it. The way you cook it is long and slow. It'll break down. It's very gelatinous, sticky. It's umptious. It goes great into like other products. Like you can put it into collard greens. You can put it into like beans and rice. It just gives that little bit of extra.
Okay.
Yeah.
That means
so like creates a stock kind of?
Yeah. Oh, 100. It makes the best stock.
Okay.
You're gonna have like gel when you're done.
Amazing.
And it's good for your bones and body. That gelatin and collagen.
See, that takes us Muslims way out of all of that. I was like, okay, trotter.
Like, oh, man, never mind.
Not that I observed.
All right, well, you can use calf's feet and chicken feet and things of that nature.
Yeah. All right, next one is let's go po' boy.
Po' boy.
Yeah, what's a po' boy?
Oh, nice.
Originally created in New Orleans, it's typically a fried something sandwich. We know it probably famous because of oysters. From a historical standpoint, it was created during like a workers' strike as like street food. And the creators, I'm spacing on the names of the creators. They kind of like pinned it as like, this is for the poor boys. Which became a slang as po' boy. This is that po' boy sandwich.
Oh, God. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's do a couple more. Go ahead, Jeannie.
Yeah. So moonshine.
Yeah, the white lightning, they call it also. It's a distilled beverage, typically made from corn. In the South, a lot of bootleggers made it before it became like whiskey. It is kind of like the mother to the whiskey. It also had like a bad light to it, a bad history in the sense that a lot of the people who made bootleg booze didn't know what the heck they were doing. And there's certain levels of alcohol when you're making distilled booze. And the old saying when I was a kid was like, don't you drink that moonshine, it's gonna make you go blind. And it's because the old thing was like, these bootleggers were selling every drip of alcohol that came out of these distills, not knowing that they need to cut the head of that moonshine, because that's pretty much like rubbing alcohol.
Oh my God.
So, drink enough rubbing alcohol, you're gonna go blind or something.
I'm actually torn about asking you whether like how home cooks should make their own moonshine, because partly I'm like, wow, this is like your own like hand sanitizer maybe, but also it just feels really irresponsible to ask you that question. So I'm not going to. So Zeki, we're not gonna. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Zeki, you go.
We're gonna do one more, and then we're gonna shift to some audience questions. I had a whole list here that our producer put for us, and one of them was actually Motown, but I'm not gonna ask you that because if people don't know what Motown is, I feel rude.
I don't even know what to say.
So we don't even know. So we're gonna shift from
Google.com Motown.
Just Google it. Exactly.
Exactly. No, but I do want to get to the final one on this quiz, June Baby. So what's a June Baby?
June Baby means so many things to me. It's a restaurant as we know it. That's the curator of Southern food from the lens that I know it. It's also the history, the storytelling of Southern food. It's also my dad. That's my dad's nickname. The name June Baby came from him. That was his childhood name. And it's pretty catchy too, if you say.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Okay, we have a bunch of questions that we got from listeners. So so first and foremost, I'm gonna ask, it's a comment and then a question from Aisha Brown on Facebook. She was a guest on one of our previous shows. You can find that on our Facebook page or our YouTube page. And she wanted to comment saying that she's going kind of back to her childhood for comfort foods, but has discovered that like Chef Boyardee ravioli isn't as great as she remembers. So there's that, right? But she's also wondering what ways restaurant owners are helping folks who are undocumented, people who, you know, historically have been really big contributors in the service industry, in the food industry, in the agriculture industry. What are you seeing here in Seattle?
I know that one thing that we did, and I worked with the Schultz Foundation, Family Foundation, was we created the Plate Fund, and that was to help people in our industry, restaurant workers, documented, undocumented, without a question, you know, try to get money onto their plate, into their home, into their pocket, to be very supportive. But, you know, like that, this situation is a tricky one. It's hard, like, you know, trying to do what's right, trying to make sure that we support everyone. Yeah, I mean, I don't have an answer for it because, like, yeah, I don't have any undocumented workers in my restaurant. But if I did, you know, I would treat them just as equal as my workers currently. So.
We got a question here. Got a couple of ones here from from our texting, or people texted in their questions. One of us is, where's the best place to get grits to cook at home? We want some easy recipes. This person wants some easy recipes for grits.
So my favorite grits are Geechee Boy Grits. You can go to their website, geecheeboy.com, and order a bag of grits. Instructions are on there, or you can make up your own. We serve like 3 or 4 different grits at the restaurant, but Geechee Boys is by far one of my favorite, and I love supporting them. They're out of Charleston, right outside of Charleston, South Carolina.
Awesome.
We got a question from Carl on Facebook asking about how to use mezcal. So he says, I bought a bottle of mezcal and I find the smoky taste to be acquired as in scare quotes. So he's wondering if he can use it in cooking with good results.
So everyone
asking if the smoky taste goes away.
Yeah, everyone keeps asking me like how to use alcohol in cooking. I'm like, why would you do that? Like, why would you make your food drunk? You should be drunk, not the food. So I do not have an answer for pouring something into food and cooking with it. Mezcal is very, very acquired. If you don't like tequila, you're probably not gonna like mezcal. If you don't like smoky, you're definitely not gonna like mezcal.
Yeah, that's fair.
Sounds good. So let's see, we got actually Aisha's having a really good time watching this because she asked another question here.
Yeah.
I love it. So what are the ways that restaurant owners are helping those who are possibly, that's what the one you asked, right? Sorry.
Yeah, but she did have another question about the sustainability of the sustainability of the restaurant industry and the sustainability of supply chains of food. I think she's wondering if there's going to be a pivot. I keep using that word pivot, but you know, if you see a change in, you know, how the relationship between food supply chains and restaurants.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about that, and I've been having many conversations with some of my small farmers. For the most part, like our small farmers are doing well still. We have like the CSAs and the farmers markets have been doing pretty well. A lot of people have been very supportive, and so I don't think like that relationship will change much. I think like, again, we're gonna, as restaurant owners, we're gonna have to analyze like what makes the most sense from us from a business standpoint. Can we pay for that $4 a pound fennel versus the $2.50 a pound fennel, you know, by supporting the local farmers. So we didn't have questions before when we paid that higher premium for the product. And so if that's going to be into question, then we're going to need the support of our guests coming in, understanding like these prices that we're paying for product to be supportive of our local community. We're going to also need your support to support us to do this. So prices are going to be a little bit more expensive in the menus, you know. So it's just like a full circle support. As long as we get the support of viewers like you, we're all going to be fine in that sense, because we're able to give back then. But if we're struggling, it's going to be a struggle bus for everyone.
So
before we wrap up, actually, I have one last question. I've got to ask this because this is something I've heard from, I'm getting text messages from friends of mine who want me to ask this question. I also have this question, so we're just going to ask it really quickly. Okay, as a chef, how do you suggest we deal with the decision fatigue of making at least 3 meals a day for like months for our families? Because like personally, I'm just ready to have them all eat cereal all the time.
Well, you can order takeout from your local restaurant like June Baby, and then you don't have to have that fatigue, and you can order 3 meals for one day. Cooking at home is hard. It's difficult. Like, yes, it's kind of like a requirement now to a certain degree, but like it's those one pot wonders that kind of take care of you for, you know, the entire day and the entire 2 or 3 days, and figuring out how to like change that stewed chicken into something else, like adding rice to it. Now I'm adding vegetable to it. I'm adding more stock to it. Now it's a soup. And those are like easy transitions to the next meal. And then you don't have to like create this full blown meal package every day. Yeah. Or maybe we start doing meal packages more that you guys can take home and just do. Well, no, I don't know. We'll see. We're here to be helpful too.
Oh my gosh. That just made my chest relax, that answer. Thank you very much. Thanks for letting me squeeze that in, Zeki.
No, my pleasure. Good question. So, by the way, I just want to say that there's a ton of love that is coming your way right now in terms of the comments. Not a whole, you know, we've been asking some of the questions, but there's just a lot of comments about how much people love you and your restaurants and your foods. You just want to let you know that we're going to put a lot of these comments into post-show notes that people can kind of look at there.
Yeah. And we would keep you here for another hour if we could. This has been really delightful, but we have to wrap up right now.
Oh.
Chef Edouardo Jordan, chef and owner at June Baby, Solari, Lucinda Grain Bar, thank you so much for talking with us today and for doing this over Zoom, which is a platform I know you're not super fond of at the moment, but thank you.
And it's my birthday. Everyone say happy birthday.
Oh, no,
happy birthday! Oh my gosh. We would have sung and embarrassed you if we'd known that earlier.
Why I said it with like a couple minutes left and no one can sing. Ah!
Nicely done. That's really good. Thank you also, everybody who's watching. You can drop happy birthday wishes to Chef Edouardo Jordan in the comments below. We're doing this show every week. Hopefully you'll be able to join us next week, Thursday, May 28th at 1 p.m. Seattle time. We're talking with writer and cartoonist Ellen Forney about mental health during the pandemic. Ellen is the author and graphic artist behind 2 great books about mental health, Marbles and Rock Steady, Brilliant Advice from My Bipolar Life. And you can find out more information about all that and register to join us next week at kuow.org/events.
You can also email us all your thoughts on today's show or future shows by just writing us an email to engage@kuow.org. That's engage@kuow.org. You can always tweet us. Our handle is @KUOW Engage.
So, Chef, beyond people dropping happy birthday comments below, how can they find you? How can they reach you?
You can find me at Solari Restaurant still. Yeah, I mean, you can find me on all the social media. I actually check all my social media. Might be slow sometimes, but for the most part I do. So you can always reach me there, Edouardo Jordan, on Instagram. I forget my Twitter because I barely tweet.
Fair enough.
Facebook, I'm there, but you know, we're here for the city, we're here for the community. You know, be patient with us. You know, we're trying to navigate this and figure it out. Be supportive of your local restaurants. Definitely support us. But you know, if you want to see that mom and pop still be there in the next 3 or 4 months, do what you can to support them. Visit their takeout. Get the word out. You know, I'm very appreciative of everything that everyone has done for me and the support. So I'm giving it back as best I can and the best I know how right now. So.
That's excellent. Yeah, thank you so much, Eduardo. And thanks to everybody who tuned in. I'd like to thank our producer, Kristen Leong. Our events team is Charlotte Duran and Bridget Anderson. Our graphics designer and tech guru is Tia Popescu. And our marketing manager is Michaela Giannotti. Our social media strategist is Juan Pablo Chiquiza. And we'll see you all next week with author Ellen Forney, Thursday, May 28th at 1 p.m. live right here on KUOW's YouTube and Facebook channels. I'd also like to thank Eduardo's dog and my cat for making those. By the way, my cat is, his name is Moby. And if you think of the novel, today was a good example of why he's named Moby. So There you
He's your
go.
white whale. Very nice.
So from all of us here at KUOW, please be kind to each other, stay safe, and in the meantime, stay home and catch you on the flip side.
Yeah. Thank
Happy
you.
birthday.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.